Hello and welcome to the International News Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Dunicic. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Join our growing international community. The Conservative government of United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new immigration plan, specifically one that takes those that have attempted to cross into England illegally and send them to Rwanda. Now, the plan has been brokered internationally or bilaterally between the UK and Rwanda. The two governments have agreed towards this immigration policy to alleviate the United Kingdom's illegal migration policy and Rwanda's population problems and woes and what is essentially a labor shortage. Now, just to understand the background of this, for many, many years, the United Kingdom has been faced with a major migration crisis. Migrants coming from nations such as Libya, Pakistan, Burundi, Congo, other African, Middle Eastern, and even Central Asian nations have been attempting to enter the United Kingdom. Now, most of these are attempting to enter through the English Channel via northern France. Now, many of these migrants enter illegally. In fact, the vast majority of them enter illegally. Now, that would be one thing, but the methods, these illegal methods that the migrants are utilizing to enter the UK are extremely dangerous and lead to deaths. Some of them hide inside trucks to go through the English Channel passage. Others hide in ferries. What has become more common, especially after the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdowns that shut down traffic through the Channel passage, many have been attempting to cross via the water, the ocean channel. Now, this crossing is typically done in small boats, even rafts, which are not designed to cross such dangerous waters. The waters in the English Channel are typically more dangerous than waters located anywhere else in the world. The waves can be heavy. The water is extremely cold. There are jellyfish that can electrocute you and other kind of sea life that is dangerous to human beings. Now, last year, the UK experienced 27,000 crossings via small boat from northern France into England. And dozens of people have died, including 27 in just one incident where a boat capsized and all of the migrants attempting to enter the UK drowned. Now, the plan is being done primarily to eliminate any kind of motivation illegal migrants may have to enter the country. They will not be receiving any kind of life in the UK. They will not be successfully allowed to live in the United Kingdom. Instead, they will be removed and placed in Rwanda, regardless of their country of origin. And they will be encouraged to stay in Rwanda. Now, the government of the United Kingdom is going to provide hundreds of millions of pounds, dollars, euros, just depends on how you convert it, to Rwanda to create housing projects, to create other integration projects to help these migrants live a proper life in Rwanda. Now, many have criticized this plan as being racist. No, it's not, okay? Not a single country has an obligation to accept or take in any migrants. If it did, then the wealthier nations in the world would just be flooded with migrants. This has nothing to do with race. It is just circumstance that the wealthier countries in the world happen to be white and the poorer ones happen to be colored. That is just a fact of geography. Now, despite these allegations of racism, other people have said that it's inhumane to take these migrants and send them to Rwanda. Now, here's the thing. That argument is racist. Why is Rwanda an inhumane country? Please tell me why. Rwanda has developed massively in the past few decades. It has become a modern, functioning, and one of the best countries to live in Africa. Now, obviously, its quality of life and economic opportunity are not going to be identical to the United Kingdom or any other European country. It is still an African nation, but it is still a very well-developed one. And the arguments that many people on the left are making to not accept these, to not send these migrants to Rwanda and give them a life in the UK is that Rwanda is this horrible hellhole that's dangerous and undemocratic. I think these people are thinking too much of racist stereotypes geared towards Rwanda that are tied into the 1994 genocide that was committed against the Tutsi people. Those days are over. Rwanda is now a functional and prosperous nation that is looking for new people to help add to its labor market. This plan will be beneficial for both the UK and Rwanda. Now, the plan does seem draconian, I will admit, taking migrants and just sending them to a random, less developed country in the world. Now, other plans have been proposed by the UK government to do the same thing, just with different countries. Another option was Ascension Island. Ascension Island is an island located between the Americas and Africa, in the middle of nowhere, extremely isolated with a population of 806 people. Would these migrants rather be sent to this isolated island where there's literally nothing? No, they wouldn't. The other option was Albania. Now, Albania, I can comment a lot on Albania, but I'm not going to, but its government refused to accept these migrants, so there's no point in even commenting on it. And the other option was Gibraltar, but this plan was deemed as unsustainable, though it would be easier to transport them because Gibraltar is much closer to the United Kingdom. Now, Rwanda was determined as the final country, but why was the plan to take migrants that are trying to enter illegally and send them to another country considered in the first place? Because historically, this has worked before for other nations, particularly Australia. Australia instituted an almost identical plan in 2013. Now, Australia was facing a major migration problem, with migrants illegally coming in through the ocean on small boats from Southeast Asia. Many of these migrants were dying in these attempts to enter Australia. Again, crossing any channel, crossing any ocean, any large body of water in a small boat is fucking dumb. And two, it's extremely dangerous and leads to death. The Australian government had to end the motivation for these migrants to come to their country legally. What Australia said, or stated or implemented, is that any migrant that came in after 2013 illegally in a small boat or any other method would be transferred to the other country of Papua New Guinea, or the other even smaller nation of Nauru. Now, these migrants wanted to go to Australia. They didn't want to go to Papua New Guinea. They didn't want to go to Nauru. So they just stopped coming. That implementation and that policy has virtually completely ended illegal migration from the Southeast Asian Ocean into Australia. It has proven to be extremely effective, and the United Kingdom's government is attempting to do this because it needs to end this migration crisis. Again, it has been struggling with this for many, many years. France and the United Kingdom have been working together to try and end this problem, but it has been a complete failure so far. Any proposals have not worked, and it has caused diplomatic tensions between the UK and France, which have always historically been relatively high. Nonetheless, it has caused unnecessary bilateral issues between the two countries. Something needs to be done to solve this problem. Other proposals have been made. Some were even completely insane. One stating to make a wave machine in the English Channel that would push the waves from the UK back into France, and the small boats trying to get from northern France into the UK would be pushed back by the waves. That idea is Orwellian, dystopian, and disturbing, and it wasn't implemented for that very reason, or in particular, it was just deemed as being too dangerous. Sending increased and forced waves is not going to stop migrants. It's just going to make their efforts to get in even stronger, and more will just die. Again, these policies are attempting to be humanitarian by preventing the loss of human life. Now, many people in the Labour Party in the United Kingdom have criticized Boris Johnson, stating that this policy has nothing to do with migration and that he's just attempting to distract the British people from other scandals that have been going on in his own government, particularly the Coronagate or the Partygate scandal, which is dead and old. That's old news no one cares about anymore. So it's not. Boris Johnson is genuinely trying to alleviate and end what is a terrible humanitarian crisis, which has led to many people dying. If the motivation for migrants to enter a country illegally is taken away, they are not going to enter that country illegally. And I say this from a place as a refugee. My parents and myself immigrated from Bosnia and Herzegovina into the United States in 1997. This was following the war that occurred in my country of origin. Now, the difference between us and these migrants that are entering illegally is we went and did it the proper way. There are laws, there are rules, and there are standards that need to be followed if you want to immigrate and live in someone else's country. And if a migrant cannot even accept these basic standards, rules, and procedures before coming into the country, how can we be guaranteed that they're going to follow respect, and understand the rules of the country when they live there. The UK has to look out for its own interest, and Britain has to look out for British people. Now, the UK has introduced other stricter asylum laws, making it harder to receive asylum, but that is a good thing. The UK has no need for these migrants, and these migrants are just causing problems in the United Kingdom. Not necessarily on their own, but they're causing political issues. The British people don't want migrants in their country, and it has caused massive political turmoil, tension, and an increase in racism in the nation, something that needs to be stopped in addition to the humanitarian crisis and loss of life. Now, the policy by the UK to send its migrants that it catches illegally to Rwanda may seem draconian, but it is necessary. And historically, policies like this have worked. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. Let's have a nice and open debate. But before you say anything, just keep in mind that last year, 27,000 people tried crossing into the UK illegally via small boat. Dozens of them have died. So when you're discussing this issue, think about those dead migrants and how their deaths can be avoided. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time.